Welcome to the George Lynch Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Legendary Gear, the game call company that is a legend by design. Well, folks, we're getting closer to that October number. Bow hunting is going to start soon. We got back from Canada and slamming the honkers up there. We're going to be starting here in the States. But today we're going to be talking about something different. Going to be talking to an old friend that I haven't talked to in years. And we're just kind of getting reacquainted and talking about old times and new times. But anyway, it's a good friend of mine named Bill Hawk. Bill, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me, George. It's been a while.
Bill's one of my Michigander buddies, and we've done a couple TV shows, and we did some hunting together. And Bill, you still doing the waterfowl thing, or you pretty much kind of changed speed?
Kind of changed speed a little bit. I still have that passion for it. I guided for 10 years back in the day and did a lot of work and did a little pro staffing, and kind of wanted to change gears a little bit. Trapping has always been in the back of my mind. And of course, I wish I would have started this years ago, but I took a chance and said, I want to get into trapping. And I did it not for fur because I wanted to make money at it. I did it because for years and years, we shoot a lot of turkeys, we shoot a lot of ducks, geese, quail, pheasants, everything. And it dawned on me, it's like, I think it's time that we give back a little bit. I read a little bit, I watched a little bit on YouTube. I just learned from the old school, man. And that's what I love, is the old school trappers. Now, a lot of the newer guys that are out doing it, and I follow a bunch of guys that trap. There's a really cool guy in Iowa, and Trapper Jay, all these guys, they got it. They catch animals, but you can't catch animals where they don't live. So that brings me to woodsmanship. Back in the day, before you and I had our trail cameras, which I'm as addicted to trail cameras as you are. I love them, man. It's Christmas morning. Jen and I will wake up in the morning. First thing we do, it's not, hey, good morning. It's whatever. She's on her phone checking her cameras. I'm checking mine. We're comparing. It's great. But back in the day, we didn't have trail cameras. No. Do you remember the old string timer?
I was trying to explain that to somebody that had a string that pulled out of the clock. And of course, you don't know what animal did it, but you just know something went through that trail at 10 because it pulled the string out of the clock and stopped the clock.
You bet. So it's like, kind of like when you scout deer. If your farm, depending on crop rotation or whatever, there really isn't any scouting you have to do. You just slam your cameras up in them pinch points or them food plots and take inventory. Well, back in the day, what did we have to do? We had to try to find some topo maps. We had to actually look at deer runs and determine, is that a feeding run or is that a bedding run? Where's their bedding? Where's their feeding? We actually had to work for it, so the reward was there. I'm looking at anything that I do, whether it's goose hunting, duck hunting, turkey hunting, any of that. For me, it's the production part of it, not the produce. It's planting the garden. It's planting the food plot. It's not about the kill for me. It's that whole preparation. I'll tell you what, you'll never see me so excited when it's time to start dipping traps and boiling traps and waxing them. And I love that part.
Oh, you do all that, huh?
I do all of it. I do it all myself. And I actually, the other day, I think you called me the other day and I missed your call. I was outside at my walnut tree picking walnuts up because I dip my traps in walnut hulls. I let them turn black and then I boil them, and that's my dye.
Really?
Yep. Turns them black. As long as, I clean all my traps with vinegar. I put them all in buckets with vinegar, 2 gallons per whatever, fill it up till it fills the top of the bucket, let them sit for a week, and it cleans them off. It takes all the rust off. Then I hang them, and I'll take vinegar again once they dry, and I'll spray them traps down. Just lightly mist them traps, and what that does, it creates rust. Well, anytime you dye a trap, whether it's logwood or they've got other full metal jacket dips, they got all kinds of stuff. You got to have them traps a light coating of rust for that blackness, that dye to adhere to. So it's a big process, but man, do I love it. Like, again, it's the production, not the produce. It's the
Does that stink the traps up the vinegar that the animals?
no, because you're gonna end up dyeing them after that. So the dye, what the dye does, it actually takes a lot of the scent away to make them scent free. I use gloves, and then I have a pot that's full of hard wax. I heat it up on a turkey fryer, and I dip all my traps in there. Now it puts a coat on there. One, it's another scent prevention, and two, it stops them from rusting in the ground. And then you've got, Michigan. Michigan, it's in the winter, it's freeze, thaw, freeze, thaw, freeze, thaw, rain, snow, you name it, cats, dogs, it doesn't matter. Trapper's worst nightmare is freezing and thawing. So you go in, you put your traps in the ground, and everything's great. But I have what's called wax dirt. I mean, you probably heard of wax dirt. We take dirt out of barns. That's probably some of your driest dirt. We spread it out, we heat it up, get any moisture that's in there, we sprinkle wax in there, and we mix it. So what it does is that wax adheres to that dirt, every single grain. Now it's waterproof. So when we bed them traps and cover them up where you can't see them, if it rains or snows or thaws, I use flake antifreeze too. And your traps won't freeze into the ground. If they freeze in the ground, they can sit there and do a jig on there and it'll never go off. So there is a science behind it. And once you get past all that and figure it out, most guys that coyote trap don't go into the winter when we get snow. It gets covered up in snow. They freeze thaw. Not me. I keep going. It's not going to beat me. There's no way. I'm trying. Well, I'm trying not to let Mother Nature beat me, but she does once in a while. But I keep going because that's the personality I have. I keep going, and I'm gonna do this. And to catch a coyote in the snow where it was buried, and you're thinking, how did that dog smell that bait? It's been in there for 2 weeks under snow. They smell it. Trust me. So. Yeah, there's a whole lot to it, but really once you get the knack down, it's not much. It's fun.
I mean, there's basics that no matter what style you got, there's basics that
Sure.
matter you got to start with. Do you ever try the snares? Do you ever try snaring them?
I have not tried it. Actually, yes, I take that back. A friend of mine, Cole, we set a few up. I just had trouble with deer. In Michigan, you gotta have deer stops on it so it doesn't grab the leg so they can be released. I just really never got into the snares. I still love putting iron in the ground. There's something about it. And I'd love for everybody just to try it, just see what it's like. And I mean, just dog proofs. Go catch you a couple coons and
What's the best time of year? When's the best time of year to trap?
I would say it's hard because coyote season and raccoon season comes in October, and I'm like, oh, some of my trapping spots are some of my deer spots, so I'm like, yeah, we're gonna hold off. I like as long as the weather permits. I like mid-November to the end of November, like in that area, all the way till March. I really like catching raccoons in February. Michigan, we get that thaw. Well, in February and March, that's when that's when the rut comes on. So what happens is those sows, those females have been in trees, they've been denning. They all den, but they don't full hibernate. If it's 20 degrees for a week straight, they'll den up and they won't even come out. But that day that you get that 35 and it gets down low 30s at night, they're on the prowl. So your big males, your boars, that's when you catch most of your boars, figuring out where their den sites are, because they're going to go from tree to tree to tree to find that sow so he can breed that sow. So if you really want to target and slow the production of raccoons having babies, that's the time to do it, because your catch ratio is probably out of, let's say, 100 coons in between February and March. I would say 80 of them are going to be boars. Wow. And, it's just like a whitetail buck. One buck will go breed 10, 15 does, no problem. Well, that's the same thing with that male coon. So I like to really target them boars, because it just slows the production now.
Have you ever
So
tried live trapping the coyotes? I mean, I see here at our hardware stores and stuff, they got the big live traps for the coyotes.
yeah, I always thought about that. It'd be kind of cool, but where I trap, I'd end up catching the neighbor's dog or something, which, as a trapper, that's like a huge nightmare. I mean, that's something that I don't ever want to catch a dog. I have caught house cats and I've released them. But I don't want to catch a dog. But I tell you what, man, it only takes once for that trap, that live trap. Only takes once for that animal or an animal that's with them to have a bad experience with it or figure it out, and they ain't going in it. There's no way. They are something.
When I lived there in Erie, of course, we had those 2 hunt clubs in our backyard. And there used to be a guy, he was my neighbor actually, but he would trap the crap out of that. There was a lot of guys did a lot of muskrat trapping. Muskrat was real big, eating turtles and muskrat. And he'd have his muskrat traps all over that. But he would stake and paint the stakes.
Yep.
So guys were back there waterfowl hunting and stuff, always knew to keep their dogs away from that. Yeah. I think, Joe with Point Moulet, I think that, of course, whatever they trap, the trappers are supposed to report, their trap. One year I thought he told me that they trapped like 17,000 muskrats out of Point Moulet.
Wow. It wouldn't surprise me.
That's a lot of muskrats, dude.
Yeah. Muskrats. There was, when you had Kyle on your show here, he was talking about that hunt that they did. It was like a 24-hour raccoon hunt. And I think there was 12 teams of 2 or 3, and they killed almost 1,000 coons in one night.
You're kidding me.
I think it was down in Mississippi. I think Mossy Oak had something to do with it, or something, like Cuz Strickland. I think I follow Cuz, and he put it on his Instagram, and I was like, 1,000 in one night? Wow. Like, that's got to tell you something. There is no question in my mind, and I'll argue it forever, that raccoons, possums, and skunks are the reason for our turkey numbers being low, our pheasants, our quail, our ducks, our geese. Look out at the prairie pothole region in North Dakota. That place hasn't changed other than maybe it dries up. Look at the predator population. Look at the raptors, okay? So like hawks and owls and this and that.
That's another bad thing. Owls the raptors are a big sore thumb for me here too, because I know they tear up a lot of rabbits. I've watched the owls and hawks get right on these fence posts. And of course, as you drive, and especially in the spring and early summer, the quail and their babies and the pheasants and their babies would be all in those ditches. I would pull up and could see quail running when we had a good population. And of course, they're out on the edge eating all that grit. Well, them owls would get right up on those telephone poles, dude, and just sit there and just smoke and clean.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like I hunted Kentucky, turkey hunted with Kyle when Kyle lived down there, and I'll never forget it. We went down in this. It was a leased property, but we went down in between 2 woods. You know how Kentucky is. It's got that, that cutout, and you got wood, high ridges on each side. I have never heard so many owls in my entire life. It sounded like the Grand National hooting contest. I was like, Kyle, those are owls. I mean, he goes, oh yeah. He goes, that's nothing. I'm like, are you kidding? There shouldn't be a rabbit or a squirrel or a pheasant.
You wonder how the turkeys survive.
Right. And you know what people don't realize, George, and I don't know if you know this, I would imagine that you do. It takes, I think it's 13 or 18 days for a turkey poult to be able to roost. And once it's past that 13 or 18 days, I mean, let's just call it 13, their numbers, their percentage, it goes up of surviving. But 13 days, think about what can happen in 13 days.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
on the ground, what's in the air.
Right. They're more protected in that air or in the tree than they are anything. Not to say that a coon won't attack or go up a tree and kill a turkey, a poults, because it will. I mean, I tell you, raccoons are nasty. Yeah. I mean, they're the Mike Tyson of critters. That's no question. They'll stand right up and they won't back down.
They got to go. They just got to go.
Yeah. And you've mentioned this too I heard you on the Lee and Tiffany podcast. I I binge watched every single one of your podcasts.
Oh,
I
that's awesome.
loved every one of them. And you mentioned that it is the middle people, the ones that don't know, that don't understand. Those are the ones that you got to target, and talk to them and educate them, and especially kids. I mean, you could take a kid on a raccoon trap line with dog proofs and fully understand. Jen's daughter went out on a run with me one night, and I use a 177 pellet gun. I don't use my once in a while I'll take a 22 short, but that's how I dispatch my coyotes, my coons, everything.
The pellet gun.
With a pellet gun, a strong one. It's got some oomph behind it.
You don't want the noise or what?
Yeah, that, and it's not so invasive, I guess. I know guys that shoot them with 9mm. I don't want to haul that thing out if it's all, a turkey is bad enough when you go slinging him over your shoulder and you can't even sit in your truck seat, But I took her out on a run, and I said, her name is Kylie, and I said, Kylie, do you want to dispatch one? And she had already killed a buck. I took her out and she killed her first deer with a bow. And I said, you want to do it? And she said, yeah, I'd love to. Because she's been around it for a few years now, seeing it. And she actually dispatched a couple of them that we caught at Kyle's. And it never bothered her because she was educated on it. I mean, they got to go, So, but that was one of her proud moments. I'm like, that a girl, and it's not about murdering it. You just dispatch it humanely, get it done, get it over, reset the trap, and let's go check them tomorrow.
I like to murder them. I want to murder them. I did a thing up in Yorkton, Canada, one year with Tim Wells, and got to be pretty good friends. But listen to him telling stories, and we were staying in this nice cabin, and he was talking about in this, when you were talking their mating season, whatever, it's February, and the boars are looking for. He has there's a call. It is like a growling noise that raccoons do, but it just pisses raccoons off.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they have their spotlights, and they come in running all the time. And he was talking about how he took his buddy out there, and they had these raccoons, and just for a raccoon come out, he shut the light off.
And I did a friend of mine, Joe Davis. He was on a predator team where they did team hunts at night. I mean, it was competitive, big money, And I said, Joe, I want to try the coyote hunting thing at night. They got the ARs, and they got the bog pods, and they got the, all the thermals and this. And I mean, you talk about fun. But we were up until 5 a.m. and by that time I was like a zombie drinking Monster Energies, just trying to stay on Earth. And I'll never forget. He goes, you want to see something really cool? And we were out in the middle of this hayfield, and there were deer out there. And at that time, it was like summer, so you could see the velvet in the buck's antlers. And dude, we seen some bombers. I mean, the monsters come out at night. And he goes, check this out. So he had his call, and he had it like 50 yards from us. Actually, no, he had it closer to us. He brought it to us, and he did a fawn distress. Oh, no. That was a bad idea. These does, these white-tailed does, I mean, they come screaming in. And I was like a little girl. Like, don't shut that thing off, man. And I mean, they come running at us. They heard that fawn distress. Creeps you out. I mean, you've done the night hunting thing too, and it's pretty wild.
It's a different level at night than trying to hunt during the day and stuff. I mean, of course, you get away with so much more because they're just what do you want to say? The odds against them, they're kind of handicapped. They still got their nose, and you still have to watch the wind and everything. But the biggest thing is their eyesight. And I'm sure, they can see better than we can in the dark, but not with that thermal. They can't.
No, that thermal, I used that thermal the first time. He's like, here, it's just a handheld one. You put it up to your right eye, left eye, whatever. And you look, and there was this big, long hayfield. It was probably 400 yards long, and they just cut it. And I said, Joe, you're trying to be quiet. I said, Joe, what are those white dots out in that field? He goes, those are field mice. I said, get out of here. I said, are you serious? So he goes, yeah, those are field mice out in the middle of that field. He goes, that's why the coyotes are out here. They're mousing.
Oh, yeah.
So I was scanning, and I'm trying to make it fun. And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna scan the edge of that woods and I'm gonna see Bigfoot standing there or something. I guarantee you. But yeah, that night vision stuff, man, it lights up the night. I've always told people, I said, nighttime is the same as daytime. It's just dark out. That's it. Nothing changes. But your nocturnal animals come out, and to see mice 300 yards away in a field,
that's unreal.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah.
And
it's Saskatchewan, and of course, they had huge coyotes up there, and we saw bear. And so I thought one night it would be awesome, my wife and I and B, to go out and because he shot a wolf right off the back of the property right there, right off the back deck. It was crossing the road, and of course that's where he was hunting elks. But I don't think they're the timber wolves. It might be, they said they weren't quite as big as like the timber wolf, but they're still wolves. But I wanted to go. I said, man, it'd be awesome. I'd like to take Di out and we'll see if we can call up a coyote or a wolf to shoot. And he says, you know what, it's really stupid. Of course, there's a lot of things that Canada has with their leader that doesn't make sense, but they non-resident person with all the predators now, that they have, the non-resident person can't go up there and shoot a coyote or a wolf.
Yeah.
In that part of Saskatchewan. I can't. I go, you mean to kill me? I can't go out here and shoot a freaking coyote that's killing your deer. Nope. That's crazy.
Yeah, I heard that. I looked in on some hunts out in like Idaho for wolf hunts. They're not cheap. They're not a cheap hunt, but man, is it cool to hunt. They howl at them, they figure out where they're at and this and that. And I've watched a lot of wolf hunts on YouTube, and it's crazy. I mean, those things are around you and you don't even know it. Other than snow, you see their tracks. I've only seen one wild wolf, and that was in the UP.
Do you have a season in the UP yet? Do they have where you can hunt them?
No, we had it. We had it for a minute, and it was a draw system. And then, of course, Michigan being Michigan, they put an axe to it, and that's it. So, but I really wanted to get in on that. That would have been amazing.
I don't know how many, it was a long time ago, but 15, 20 years. It's a long time ago. I used to go up there every year, the first 2 weeks of November, to bow hunt in Iron River, and that was Iron County. And there's times, you get a ton of snow and everything, but I loved it because I wasn't going to shoot the big bucks that you see in the farmland, but I love the serenity, and I love going somewhere I didn't have to worry about someone stepping over. And we had our topo maps, and we hunted a lot of the federal forests up there. But I'll never forget, we had 2 vehicles. My buddy was hunting at another spot, and of course I had a mile walk at least to where I was hunting, where I parked the truck back in. But I'll never forget, I came in and I drove, and the road came this way, and we're on a T, and he's parked on the T, and I come this way and I pull around and I get out of the truck, and we're talking to him, and it's dark and it's lightly snowing. So the headlights are shining, if his headlights are shining into the woods, and the snow looks like little diamonds. And as we're talking, I looked and I said, dude, look, there's some eyes coming at us. And you just coming towards the road. And that sucker came out right in the road, probably 40 yards from me. And it was a wolf. Of course, him and I didn't even know there's wolves there at the time. We seen the coyotes, but there's no doubt this was a wolf. And I'll never forget, we went into town and talked to one of the guys there. And they were all pissed off. The DNR turned some wolves up there, but he just had a presence. It's like, I would never want to meet him.
No,
I can't imagine running into a pack of them.
Right. And usually if you see one, there's usually more. If you see a cat, mountain lion, typically, unless it's a breeding pair, they're pretty much solo. Like these guys that go to Africa and hunt the lion, like I just can't do it. They scare me. They literally
they can eat me. Big bear eat me.
Exactly. For the most part, anywhere, typically this side of, Illinois or whatever. We have bears and we have our wolves, but for the most part, it's like National Geographic has made it seem like there's a grizzly bear behind every single tree in Yellowstone Park. Well, I was at Yellowstone. It was beautiful. It was awesome. We didn't see a grizzly bear behind every tree, so people get scared of it. It's kind of like sharks. You don't want to get bit, stay out of the water.
Yeah, the water. It's like you said, the lions. I've watched some of that stuff on YouTube, and YouTube's got some wild hunts, but those lion attacks, and they are so powerful, and they come, in the high weeds, and they'll come out of those weeds so fast, and these guys are turning, trying to shoot, and it reminds me. First time I went to Yellowstone, I was about 18 years old, and I was talking to the park ranger because I was with my uncle, and we were going to do a lot of backpacking. And, he was talking. First thing I'm asking, I'm grizzly crazy. What I do is a grizzly here. What am I going to do when I come on a grizzly? Well, you talk in a monotone voice. Don't try to run. He says, you'll not run them. That'll entice the attack. And he says, best thing to do is talk in a monotone voice. And I said, well, the only thing I can think of if I walk up on a grizzly is our Father who art in heaven.
Exactly. Yeah. And those guys that go on those grizzly hunts, they always say, bring a pistol, a big one, 460, 500, and they have 5 rounds, and they say, have 4 for the bear and 1 for yourself.
There you go.
They're so fast.
Or have a guy that's slower than you.
Yes. Or trip him and then. Yeah. So luckily we don't have, a lot here. I mean, we don't have anything that's going to really bother you, but it's still in the back of your mind. As they reveal more things about the mountain lions, I really don't want to see one. I don't want one around me, so I do a lot of micro hunting, for my whitetails. I've been really successful. I'm a big fan of Seek One and all those guys. And, a lot of people think you need 800 acres to kill a big whitetail. But I micro hunt. Some of my biggest deer have been on 0.9 acres, not even an acre, 4 acres, 11 acres. I'm a food plot junkie. I bought a Kubota tractor with a tiller on the back, brand new, just for food plots.
Yeah,
it's the production, not the produce, man. It's just, I love doing it.
It's the same. Yeah, exactly. It didn't take long to figure out that the guys here who are putting in the food, it's all about having the food. If you have the food, especially in the late season, you can get by, you can have an area, if you hold some does and have a chance during the rut. But when it gets cold, if you don't have a food source, your neighbor's going to have the deer.
Yeah.
And that's the way exactly right. My favorite spot I had over in Garden Grove, it was my place when I first came out here. I leased it for like 7 years straight and killed a nice buck every year. And it's just, man, there was a lot of good bucks in that county. It's Decatur County. And the landowner would leave me a little bit of beans up and corn. And dude, if you had soybeans standing in December, that is like the crack cocaine of seeing the deer. Then all of a sudden, the guy who owned the land west of me, he sold his 350 acre piece to these guys out of Wisconsin that paid almost $2 million for that, just a deer hunt. And then they put in beans and corn and left it up. Just left all of it up. So the first year when they moved in, there went my deer.
Yeah.
We're bordered up, but that's one of those that your neighbor just, the pecker measuring contest, he was a little bit bigger and carrying and having the deer. So it is about food sources. And, I hooked up with Domain. And when I started putting food plots out here, and, I'm trying different things. What's killed us, though, is that we've had this drought for 2 years. So, again, this year on my food plot, we wanted to get turnips, radishes, and kale and this mixture in. But if I would have, it would have burned up.
Yeah, so I started using Domain this year. I thought I'm going to try it. They got something right. I can't remember which. It's a mix of Dakin radishes and purple top. And I have pictures on my phone of like time lapse.
Is it what they call their big and sexy?
Yes, that's exactly what it is, dude. I'll tell you right now, it is amazing. And what I love about it is it's not a buck on a bag. It's not all this advertising, whatever. When you look at the bottle, and it's like that's pure seed. There's no crap in it. It's pure seed. It's pure whatever I want.
My wife took them down. I had a bunch of the jugs up here because we put goose guts in it and stuff like that. For the calls and accessories. What you need to do sometime, buddy, you need to start a YouTube channel and start filming yourself doing your trapping, running your lines, and have something. You know what? It is neat to the next generation of teaching the old way, and you need to do that. You need to get yourself on.
I thought a lot about doing it, you know, and if I do it, I just want to do it as simple to where people can understand it and they can fall in love with it like I did. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love to shoot ducks, I love to shoot geese, I love hunting, period, fishing, but I want to teach it in a way that isn't confusing. Right. You know, there's a lot of things out there that have just, everyone's trying to recreate the wheel and it's been overplayed, but yeah, it's trapping is amazing.
Overplayed. Absolutely. Just keep it simple. All right, Bill, I appreciate you spending your time and spreading your knowledge on. All right, folks, I hope you like this. You subscribe to it, and you can go to bill.hawk412@gmail.com. And if have some guys email you, reach out. Young guys are thinking about getting into trapping. Bill's got a lot of knowledge, just not into trapping, but deer hunting, waterfowl. So anyway, Bill, I appreciate it. All you folks out there, remember, hunt safe, hunt smart, and may the good Lord be your guide. That's a wrap.
Well, I'll be out there, rain or shining, all a part of the great design. Bring it on, I can never get enough, because that's what legends are made of.